Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk Maywood on Diversity Today Media. I am your host, Dr. Reggie Ratliff, and joining me is my co-host, my co-laborer at the Vineyard, and expert and licensed investment advisor, Terrence Hollingsworth. Terry, good evening.
Hello, Dr. Ratliff. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How's your summer going so far, man?
It's good. I'm getting out in the traveling a little bit and enjoying the sun, and that's all I want to do, right?
Yeah, man, it's good. It's been I don't know how it's been in the Midwest, where you are in Iowa, but here in the DMV, it's been scorching hot up until recently. But it's been like triple digit. The heat index has been like triple digits, and just like blazing hot.
Well, it's been hot, but it's been not super hot, and it's okay, right? It's okay.
Nice, nice. Well, speaking of hot, there's been a lot of hot headlines going on in the world of finance, and led by the illustrious President Donald Trump, with his tariffs, man, and the Epstein files, and the tariffs, and you know him, making deals and things like that. From your perspective as an expert investment advisor, how has what he's been doing impacting our country, economically?
So a couple of things, right? That is funny. You talk about Donald Trump and how he lies and how he manipulates and things like this. The stock market itself has been hot.
Mm-hmm.
um, you
Yeah.
know,
Why is that though,
as
Terry? Why is that?
I think because just there's a lot of money across the world coming into the American stock market, and people are buying. There's not a lot of other places to put your money, and so guess
Mm-hmm.
what? The stock market is where it goes, but it's also a cautionary tale, right? Because um the fundamental analysis which we rely on a lot, especially as financial advisors, you have something like Palantir,
Right.
and it's the highest price to earnings ratio stock on the S&P 500,
Mm-hmm.
at 229, historically high. And but when I was talking to my nephew about it, I said, I don't know, I'll wait for a little bit, see if it pulls back some. And that
Right.
was at 130, and now it's at 180, right? He's
Wow.
probably like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right. 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 Yeah.
But
But you do.
yeah, that's the risk. I remember during the meme situation, you could buy AMC at $2 and it went to
Yep.
60. And
Yep.
then now it's back down to $3. And so if you
Mm-hmm.
bought at 40, 50, 60, what do? You're probably taking a loss on it because
Right.
chances are it's never going back there, at least not no time soon. And so there's no good reason to own it. And I'm not saying that about Palantir. I think, you
Right.
know, there are reasons to own Palantir, but at this valuation, I'm not sure.
Are there any industries as we start going into the fall season? Kids are starting to prepare, like in the South, like in states like Alabama and Georgia, they're going back to school. So the tide is starting to turn. Do you see any industries that are going to start to stand out as we head slowly towards the fall? In your expert opinion?
So what I'll say is there are great opportunities to maybe own some things that probably doesn't have the same growth as, let's say, an Nvidia or even Palantir or
Mhm.
something like this.
Right.
But stop paying a 7% dividend, like let's say Pfizer, right?
Yeah.
24. Um, that's probably a good value play that they dividend is fairly safe because they're still making a bunch of money and things like this. And
Right.
so I think there's some opportunities to own value.
Right.
and put it away. But at the end of the day, you want to build a portfolio. You want to have some that looks like that, but you also want to have some that, as I'm a big believer that every portfolio should own some NVIDIA, right?
Hmm. Right.
They
Right.
report on August 27th. Chances are that they're going to report a good number, and it's
Hmm.
at 180 now, and we might be looking at getting the 200.
Nice. That would be good, especially with those who invest now, because they'll be, probably, little money in their pocket if it with what you're saying comes to fruition, at that position, right?
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, 180, uh obviously, my position is at any given time that Nvidia is pulling back, I want to buy some. And
Yeah.
so at this point, a good entry point for me is probably 150 or so, right?
Hmm. The threshold.
um yeah, because at the end of the day, the the fundamentals about what AI is. The truth is, we hear so much about AI, and there's two things that we know. One, they're buying NVIDIA chips, and two, they need energy to support all of the work that the chips are doing. So, owning energy, owning NVIDIA, pretty obvious investments that people should build a portfolio around.
Yeah. Well, one last thing before we move on, I heard recently that there is a fifth generation of AI that was just launched recently. They're already they when they launched it, they reached 1 million customers within an hour. Terry, an hour.
Yeah,
So we think about like Facebook, it took them some months to get their 1 millionth customer. They were comparing that to other AI with other competitors, if you will. But in 1 hour, you get 1 million users. Everybody uses it. I mean, most people use it. I still haven't really gotten used to that concept, but corporations use it. People who write business proposals and
yeah.
lead stats, and so that's where we are, man. This new age of technology.
Well, as I say, I don't know if the world has felt this kind of a change, and we are in a change. That the real question becomes, as people, as a community, as families, are we going to benefit from it, or are we going to watch it pass us by? And on some level, we have the opportunity that we have never had in the history of at least America, but probably the world, that Black people have access to
Yeah,
information. The
yeah,
barriers that were once there are no longer there. I mean,
right,
I'm going to
right.
go sometime this week and help a kid that's turning 18 open his Roth IRA so that he can be on the path of financial independence, right?
Absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
yeah, so we have to do that, and I'm afraid that we're not doing that. And I'll say
Hmm.
this, and I'll end here. It's a good segue
Yeah,
for what we're talking about. We're in the
yeah,
greatest wealth creation period in the history of the world, and we
yeah,
are in the greatest wealth transfer history in the history of the world. And guess what? Are we prepared for it? Are we passing? What are we passing down to the next generation? Do
yeah.
we have wills and trusts in place so that our next generation, it, those assets aren't lost to taxes and to some of these other things that that takes away the generational wealth.
Yes, indeed. And I just want to leave with this because you say live, but I can't. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. So there was an announcement that if you're unemployed, now's the time to find a job. Next month, all of the state workers are going back into the office. Those who work for the state of Illinois, they're going back to the office for good to increase the customer interaction from Trump's recent bill. It would result in over 400,000 Illini Illinoisans losing SNAP benefits and even more losing Medicaid unless you're exempt and or working. So Trump is on a mission. You have to stay ahead of the game. And like you said, Terry, you have to start this investing in your grandchild future while they're young, before they're born even, teaching financial education, because time is of the essence, especially with Trump in office, his lies notwithstanding. But we see what his agenda is, and we have to be proactive as people.
I agree. I mean, it's people feel like, Trump only has 2 or 3 years left in office, but history tells us that when the next president comes in, he doesn't really undo what the last
No,
president did. And
no.
so, for the foreseeable future, these things are being passed are probably going to stay permanent.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we will, keep the public posted, because Terry and I talk about these type of, activities, events, and, challenges, not just locally, but, nationally and globally as well. That's what we do on the Let's Talk Maywood podcast on Diversity Today Media. But I'm excited about our guest. He has an extremely busy schedule. So, don't want to hold him up any longer than he has to. His name is attorney Carl Nichols. Carl Nichols is the owner of let me make sure I get it right. He's the owner of Nichols Law Group PC, which is professional corporation. And overall, as a criminal attorney, attorney Nichols has over 10 years of experience, but he has one goal in mind when it comes to all criminal clients, and that is to get charges dismissed, get a not guilty, or to negotiate the best deal to not disrupt his clients' lives. Attorney Nichols guarantees hard work and effective communication with clients and the court system. Attorney Nichols recognizes that all criminal charges are scary and confusing, and the attorneys at Nichols Law Group take the extra step to make sure all our clients are fully advised and comfortable with all the necessary legal decisions. They are here to help you, and they have a proven track record of getting their clients, the results that they desire. We will talk about how to contact him when he's on our podcast, which is right now. Attorney Carl Nichols.
Thank you. That was a great introduction. Yes, my name is Attorney Carl Nichols, and I have been a practicing, we'll just say, attorney for about closer to 13, 14 years. I have three main areas of practice. I do real estate law. So if you want to buy or sell a house, I can help. I do criminal law. So hopefully your client or your listeners don't need that, but
right.
I mainly do DUIs, and hey, you never know.
Never know.
A fun weekend may happen. And I also, of course, do estate planning that I've been doing for a number of years. And my goal, my job is basically to transfer assets from you, right, over to your loved ones or your friends and family. So basically my job is to make sure that your money stays safe.
Nice. Well, thank you for joining us at this time, Attorney Nichols. And I want to just start off by bringing the Maywood connection. You are highly referred to us by former Maywood Park District Commissioner Don Williams. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes,
okay.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So what does that connection look like? Not in terms of the personal, but in terms of, the role.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've known Dawn for a number of years. She's a great person. Personal wise, just, known her, I got to know her better, obviously, from a business connection.
Right.
The business connection is just, helping some of the residents of Maywood buy, sell property, right? And then if there's any tax issues, I do a little bit of tax work.
Okay.
So, through her, connections, I've been helping some of the people she sent me. So
nice, very good, nice. So I want to focus on estate planning, which seems to be a challenge, statistically speaking, nationwide. But because this is a focus on African Americans who do not involve themselves in estate planning, there's a lot of legal wrangling and things like that because there are no estates that are established by Black families. Can you talk a little bit about your experiences as it relates to, estate planning and the importance of that?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. The first thing I'm going to say, I know you're a financial podcast, so let's get some numbers out there. We are the lowest percentage of people that do trust. When I say people, I mean Black folk, right? Um, I don't know why, but I can tell you what. When you pass away, things don't just disappear, right? Your bills are still there, your debts are still there, your family is still there, and if you want to transfer your property and or your money so that your family or loved ones can get it without a largely stressful situation, you definitely want to do a trust or do some type of estate planning, right? Whether you use me or somebody else, at the end of the day, it's really about one question. Do you want to pass down peace or do you want to pass down problem? Because I promise you this, there are certain questions that happen when somebody passes away. You got to remember a trust, a will, it really only takes effect or really only matters when such and such is gone, right? Dad's gone, mom's gone, granddad's gone, grandma is gone, excuse me. If you don't have anything in place, things just don't happen automatically. Your bank is not going to know that grandma died, right? The mortgage you have on the house, the lender is not going to know that dad died. Your family's not going to know about the bank account that you have in Alaska. You know what I mean? So you really want to have a trust which gives you total control of where your money is and where and what you want to do with it. Meaning, who do you want to give it to when you're not here, whether that's family, friends, or a charity.
So I want to dig a little bit deeper as you talked about the bank not caring if there's a balance on the house or whatever the case may be. Is it because there's a lien on a property because there's a balance that makes it problematic, legally? Is that?
Well, so any debt you owe is a lien, right? So your mortgage is a lien. All that means is you owe somebody some money. You can own this house outright. If you pass away, that mortgage still needs to be paid off. Somebody has to make those payments. If you do not have a trust and or a will in place, it's going to take some time before you can actually pay them. And by then, who knows what can happen. If you pass without your proper paperwork in place, it can take on average 2 years to have the authority to sell, get into bank accounts, get into life insurance, things like that.
Wow. So that means that in the meantime, you still have to pay the mortgage and
absolutely taxes. And listen, I don't care if you and your husband used to walk to the bank every day and talk to the bank teller. If you're not on that account and something happens to you, they are going to look at you and they're going to say, I'm sorry, I can't give you any money. I can't give you any information because you are not on the account. So if you want to do it right, you need to put it into a trust or a will.
Does that mean that they cannot, in this, we're talking about mortgage and property, does this mean that the family cannot sell, the home?
Well, I can tell you that there are ways around it in real estate law as far as the home goes. But if you don't have a savvy attorney that knows that, basically, yes, your home will be held until until the court gives you authority. I'm sure some of your listeners have heard of the executor of the estate, the administrator, terms like that. That just means the court gave you power to speak on behalf of the deceased loved one, basically.
Wow. What mistakes, Attorney Nichols, what mistakes have you seen that disproportionately impact Black families in estate planning? And from your expert viewpoint, how can those mistakes be prevented?
Listen, not having proper paperwork in place. I don't know if that's 6 words or not, but if you pass, I'm gonna give you guys a saying. If you pass and your paperwork is not in place, you will go through probate. Probate is a bad word. I am sure most of your listeners, through friends, through family, have heard of probate. Here's why you don't want to go through probate. If you listen to me at all, listen to me about these 3 things. 1, it's going to take 10% of your money. If you pass and your husband wants to leave you $100,000, you just gave $10,000 to the court system, right? You're going to have to hire a lawyer like myself. We cost about $10,000. Now you're up to $30,000, right? And on average, it's going to take you 2 years in order to get everything settled, which is time and money that you're going to be wasting that you don't have to do. If you put it into a trust, everything transfers immediately. What you want to happen happens immediately.
You are listening to Let's Talk Maywood and Diversity Today Media. My guest is attorney Carl Nichols. He is the owner of the Nichols Law Group PC. Again, thank you again, Attorney Nichols, for joining us tonight. And, I want to ask you about the transfer on death, on deeds, and bank accounts. Can you talk about that for a few moments?
Sure. So, I mean, you're talking about transfer on death instruments. So, pieces of paper, basically. You can do those on bank accounts. You can do those on things like life insurance. I don't ideally suggest those things because you lose a little bit of control, right? When somebody passes, they still are going to have to call your life insurance company. They still are going to have to call your bank, et cetera, et cetera. If you put everything into trust, it's automatic. It's one sheet of paper that has all your information, right? What are we going to do with the funeral? What are we going to do with the house? What are we going to do with bank accounts? Who owns the house? Who's going to be able to sell it? All that is on one sheet of paper where grandma, mom, or dad have figured those things out, so that it's easy. Because you got to remember, mom is gone, dad is gone. People aren't going to think straight for a couple of weeks. It happened to me personally. I had a family member who died about a year and a half ago. I personally am still going through my family is still going through probate. My uncle he wasn't in the state, so I couldn't help him. And he was a very private guy. I will tell you just one thing, big reason why you don't want to go through probate. When my uncle passed, the question started happening. What are we going to do with the house? Who's paying for this funeral? Where are his bank accounts, et cetera, right? I'm the family attorney. I had to go, my mother asked me those questions. I got to go find out. So I didn't know where his money was, right? Because there is no magic piece of paper that happens when you pass away. I literally went to his home and I went through 2 huge boxes. It took me 6 days of Red Bull and coffee to figure out what he had. My uncle was a pack rat. He had paperwork in his on those boxes that were from 1995. Wow. He had his old deed from a house he sold 30 years ago. I don't know why he didn't throw everything away, but he did, or didn't throw everything away. It took me 6 days, and guess what? That was the easy part. I just had to figure out where the money could have been, because I found bank accounts from 1980. I found bank accounts from 1990. Who knows if there's money in there or not? Somebody has to call. It took us 2 months to get through all the calls, all the paperwork, and all the people that we needed to talk to. It was terrible. And I'm an attorney.
Right. Yeah.
I'm telling you how bad it was.
Right.
It really sucked going through 2 boxes for 6 days. It was the worst, probably, legal experience I've ever had. But it reinforced what I know. If you have your proper paperwork in place, you're going to pass down peace, not problems. If you don't have it in place, somebody got to scramble and do all this. So let's be real. Not everybody's going to do that.
Right. Right. You're right.
So,
yeah. I mean, thank you for sharing, your story, what you're going through even right now.
Still to this day, I'll tell you right now. So it's been about a year and a half. He had about 300,000 that we found. So we've already paid 21,000. So we're close to that 10%.
Right.
The lawyer costs about 8,000 so far. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's been about a year and 7 months. So I assume in the next 2-3 months we'll be done, but statutorily you have to wait. So if you go through probate, your family is going to have to wait. Why would you want that to happen if you don't have to?
Say that again, attorney. Please say that again.
Yes. If you do not have proper paperwork in place, you're going to lose 10% of your money. You're going to pay $10,000 on an attorney, and your family is going to have to wait on average 2.5 years. Why would you do that when you can settle everything now? It's not about you. It's about the people behind you, and you hope that they do it right. When they talk about family legacy, when they talk about building a strong family, strong Black family, whatever you want to say, this is what they're talking about, right? They're not the money. Let's be real. It's the money. You got to get your money straight, because if you go and your paperwork is not in place, it's going to cause. I've had cases where people just walk away. There might be 50,000 in a bank account somewhere.
Wow.
They don't want to pay the, let's say, 10,000 to actually get it all done. They don't want to get through. They don't want to go through all the paperwork. It took me 6 days, and I'm an attorney.
Right.
I would assume an average person might take them 12 days. How many people you know work hard for 12 straight days? I don't know what that means. I wasn't getting paid, but this was my uncle, so I had to do what I had to do.
Right.
But either it's a simple question. Yeah. Do you want the courts to get some of your money, or do you want your family to get all of your money?
Right.
I've never, not once, heard someone say, I want the court to get some of my money.
Right.
So if you know that and you think that,
right,
reach out to me. I help you with the trust. I do payment plans. I work with you.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
I was just about to ask. So that $10,000 average is up front. It's not something you pay after everything is settled, right?
Well, they'll let you pay it in increments, but it usually ends up being that. And then the 10% just comes from the court. So when they're done doing their work, they're going to send you a bill, and either you're going to pay it or you're not. And if you don't pay it, nothing's going to happen.
Wow. Good stuff, attorney. Thank you so much for sharing that. How much does it cost to establish a trust?
Every case is different. I can tell you that. It depends on how. I will say the more money you have, generally the more expensive the trust is, simply because there may be more things you need. But let's just say on average about $2,500. Okay.
Which isn't too bad, considering you might have like a pot of gold waiting.
To be honest with you, a lot of people think that's a lot. I'm gonna be honest. Hey, this is the honest podcast, right?
Yeah, yes.
A lot of people think that's a lot, and I always think to myself, well, if you don't do it, if something happens, it's gonna be 30 or 10% of your money.
Right.
So if you got $300,000 in the bank somewhere,
right,
you're about to pay $30,000 versus $2,000.
Right. Yeah. It's a worthy investment. Yeah, I can attest from personal experiences the challenges of, not having a state in place, or even having, a state with questions about the paperwork. So
yeah,
it could be in the state, but are there any type of holes that perhaps a family member can poke that can delegitimize an estate once it's filed? Like, no, this isn't right. I need, I want more money, whatever.
Yeah, you can. So, when an estate is open, there's anybody that can be an interested party, right? They can come in and say, grandma said this, mom said that,
right.
It is what it is. I will just briefly tangent. That's another reason why you want a trust. You don't want all them family questions, right? I hate to say it. I have seen families break up over $5,000, right? Brother and sister, cousin, and whatever it is.
Right.
It's a lot harder to break up if it's in black and white. Mom said this, dad said this. You can't be mad at me because dad gave me the house. You can't be mad at me that mom gave me the money. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it in place now, well, mom told me this in 1990.
Right.
Dad told me this in 2025.
Right.
Really? How do we know that? It's going to have to go through court. And now you're going to have some judge figure out what your mom and dad said.
Wow.
And why would you want that? It's about control. And it's about leaving a legacy for the people behind you. And then you hope they do it and they leave other people behind you. And that way, the Hollingsworth family will be rich forever. Quick story. So you guys know financial podcasts. Of course, Rockefeller and Carnegie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Heard of them. Okay. Here's the reason why a lot of people know their name. It's not because they were just, super rich. Of course they were, but there was a lot of rich people at that time. They put their money into a trust. Mm-hmm. And they said with their trust, we want to make sure that our name rings through history forever. So they put their name on Rockefeller Center. They put their name on Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
And they put all that into a trust. And it's been 200 years. And guess what? You still know Rockefeller Center. Yeah. You still know Carnegie Hall. Yeah. That ain't no coincidence. Somebody has work to do that. They got money coming in on money on money on money. If you have that much money, now your whole family line is good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I just want to add, Ford, Henry Ford.
Ford Center or whatever.
Chase, like JP Morgan Chase.
JP Morgan Chase.
Yeah.
You don't know their name just because somebody has to keep their name ringing. And it's because they have trustees. So when you get a trust, just super simple. So a trust is a safe. What I do is I build the safe for you. You put your money into the safe, and then there's an instruction manual that's inside. The only time we look at the safe is when something happens to you. So mom passes away. We open up the safe. There's an instruction manual inside. It tells us exactly what mom wants. Mom wants the house to go to X. Mom wants the money to go to Y. Mom wants to be cremated. Mom wants a funeral. Whatever it is, it's literally the effort on your part is walking to where your mom keeps your important paperwork and pull it out. And then if you really want to talk about super effort, then giving me a call and I'm gonna let you know what it all means. That's my job.
That's beautiful. Do you do free consultation or do you charge for a consultation?
No, I do free consultations. You can pretty much call me anytime. I'm pretty much 9 to 9 every day.
Wow. Yeah, there's his number. I was just about to ask Harry to put it on the screen. So is that accurate, Attorney Nichols?
That is it. You'll get my assistant. Just leave a message and I promise you I'll get back with you.
I've seen so many families fight over assets that are left behind by parents or grandparents. Like you said, sometimes it comes to division, separation, fight, never talk to each other again, that kind of thing. It's ugly. And so that leads to my question, who do you recommend to be named as an executor of a trust?
Well, so you don't need an executor. You would need an executor if your property went through probate. So an executor is just a fancy name of saying person in charge of your property, your assets. You only bring that person when you do not have the proper paperwork in place. If you do have the proper paperwork in place, you'll have a trustee, right? The trustee is just a person that will get business and the job done, right? It could be your husband, your wife, your mother, your father, your best friend, your oldest kid, whoever you say to yourself, when I go, this person will make sure everything happens the way they're supposed to be. That person can be your trustee, and they are the ones that are going to do the things in that instruction manual, aka the trust agreement. Okay. They are the ones that are going to read that instruction manual and say, "Oh, mom wanted boom, 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 boom," and they go and get it done.
Wow. So does that include like retirement accounts and insurance policies and other financial assets?
Yep. The general ones is obviously any bank accounts, life insurance, 401k accounts, any stocks, any bonds, your property. Those are usually the major ones people have. Any asset, essentially, any asset that has some type of title, we can switch over.
Okay, beautiful. Something else just popped in my mind. Cornelius Vanderbilt. Remember Vanderbilt?
Vanderbilt. Carnegie. I mean, you know the name because they were rich, but you also know the name because they still have things around. And they've been gone, 200 odd years. It's because it's all in a trust. And there's a trustee out there that's actually a company. So it could be a person or you can hire a company, right? Let's just say you're 90 years old and all your friends and your family are all they may not be around in 10, 15 years. Right. You could absolutely hire a trust company or you can hire a lawyer like myself.
Right.
But my job when you pass is to do whatever it is you say. You've seen the movie. It's the guy behind the desk and there's all the people in front. There's like the last will and testament of whoever. Right. That's what I would do for you.
Oh, okay.
It wouldn't be a will, it'd be a trust, but that's a different story for a different day. So
understood. So how can I incorporate charitable giving into my estate plan in a tax efficient manner? Is there
so there's actually a special trust. It's called charitable trust. So if it's a church, if it's a not-for-profit, if it's a food bank, whatever it is, basically you just let me know who it is. I'd get their information, put it in a trust, and you're just telling me how much you want to put. How much you want to give. And, the trust is its own person, right? This gets a little bit more difficult. So we'll get into this if you give me a call. But, whatever tax breaks you would get by giving to a not-for-profit, you get the same via a trust.
Okay. I'm glad you said that. Because it leads me to those who are like first generation. How do you approach first generation wealth builders about wills and trusts and other estate tools?
Well, I'll be honest, doctor, it's harder if you're not, a baby boomer, maybe 60s, 70s. A lot of people don't think about this early on. So, I mean, most of my clients are in their late 60s, late 50s. I get some 40-year-olds here and there, but what I tell them is that, nothing's promised. I've had so many people call me, say such and such has passed away, and they're my age.
Wow.
40, 41, you know what I mean?
Right.
And, accidents happen, or things that you don't expect to happen. So, what I tell them is, if you're going to do it, just do it. It's a little bit, we're going to have to gather some paperwork. We're going to have to be talking on the phone for, a couple of weeks. And it's obviously not the funnest thing to do. But once you do it, it's done. And you don't got to worry about it anymore. And if something, God forbid, happens to you, your family is fine, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to give, I always go back to the same question. You want to give the courts some of your money or your family all of your money? That's it. That's the difference between passing with your paperwork in place and passing without. Courts is going to get some, or they ain't going to get nothing.
Wow.
And another thing about trust, and this kind of goes, I know you guys have talked about this, in past podcast, but it's an asset protection thing too, right?
Yeah.
If your assets, I'm gonna make sure the audience is clear.
Yeah.
If your assets are in a trust, and you do it right? You have to do it a proper way, and those trust and those assets transfer upon your death. There is no creditors, right? They can't come. So if you owe Chase $1 million, Chase is done. They can't do it. So if you want asset protection, you definitely want to trust. It gives you ultimate power.
Absolutely. So they can't come and try to dip into that bank account.
There's no money there because all that money is in your trust. The trust is its own person. It would be like me giving all my money to you, and they come sue me. I'm dead. I'm gone.
Right.
What are they gonna get from me? There's $0 in my estate. Right. Estate is just a fancy word with how much money you have when you pass. If every dime is with you,
right.
There you go.
Even if it's a widow. Even if it's I know it may be a simple-minded question, but
see, the widow wouldn't get it. The widow would be a beneficiary of the trust, but the money is still with the trust.
Yep. So they can't go after the widow, is what I'm asking.
Nope, because she's just a beneficiary. Nope.
Wow.
If you do it right, you gotta, of course, obviously do it right.
Understood. Can you tell me, if just piggyback a little bit, can you tell me the difference between a trustee and executor?
Well, the executor comes around if you do not have a trust in place or your paperwork in place, right? The court would appoint an executor, and all that means is a family member usually that is, in charge essentially, right? Any court issues, they go through him. They want to sell the property, they go through him. A trustee is if you have your paperwork in place and you have a proper trust. Then you would have a trustee that would do all the things that, whatever it is that you said. So on one hand, the court has to appoint you. You have to go through the court process. You have to take a long time for the court to say you are in charge. On the other hand, it happens immediately on a piece of paper.
Okay. Pretty simple.
Pretty simple. A trust makes it all simple. Again, with your audience, I'm going through this now. It is very difficult to do it through the court because it takes a lot of time and they want a lot of things and it costs a lot of money. But if you do it through a trust, everything is on one piece of paper. Boom. Funeral, what are we gonna do? House, what are we gonna do? Taxes, the bank accounts, the life insurance, right? It's all on one sheet of paper.
Wow. We're coming to the end of our podcast, and again, you watching Let's Talk Maywood on Diversity Today Media. Pleased to have attorney Carl Nichols join us on this podcast. He's talking about estate planning and some of the challenges that people face, like not getting a trust, for example, and some of the things how you can avoid that, and just educating the audience and me as well. So I really appreciate your time, attorney Nichols. Just a couple more questions. One, in the Black culture, there are extended families. So, how can estate plans address the care and support of extended family members,
sure,
which is often the cultural priority in Black households?
Yeah, so we call it blended family in the trust world, right? Yeah. Definitely, there's mechanisms in place. It's essentially you telling me who is your, stepson, or who is the person that's not, your son or daughter by blood, but you want to make sure they are a beneficiary. It's all you got to do is let me know who you want to benefit, and I'll make sure it happens properly.
Nice. Are there any unique challenges that you've seen in your time as an attorney as it relates to, estate planning in the Black community specifically? Because, like you said, we have the lowest percentage.
Sure. I'll say generally, just people willing to move forward and just do it, period. Like I said, average is 25. It really depends on where you are. I don't think 2,500 is a lot to make sure that your family is fine when you go. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the pushback is because it's not something that's really taught in the Black community.
Right.
I said earlier at the beginning of the podcast that, we're the lowest percentage of people that do this.
Yeah.
And, I absolutely think that some of that plays into kind of where we are in the world because, we're not always at the top of the list in any statistical category. Right. And it all, to me, to be really honest, it all goes back to money, more education, more this, more that, more opportunities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. It's one of those things I wish they taught in schools because why wouldn't you want to do this? I mean, it makes it. I mean, anybody who asks would not prefer to give money to the court when they can give it all to their family.
One of the classes I teach, I'm an educator. One of the classes I teach from time to time is business law. And they talk about estate planning. So I'm not an estate attorney or anything like that. I could only deliver like terminology, the process and things like that. So from an expert such as yourself, what is your process for reviewing and updating an estate plan over time?
Sure. So those happen all the time. It's called a codicil. It's just a special word for an add-on. So once we create your trust, once we create your safe, people, if you buy a new property, get a new bank account, get a new, new life insurance, anything that is a tangible asset, you would just let me know and we would add it. It's simple. It takes, it doesn't take long at all.
Do you speak, do you lecture at any, colleges or universities out in the community or whatever?
I mean, well, not yet. Let's see what this podcast does. We can, not yet, nothing yet.
Well, no. I would reach out. I mean, I would, advocate on your behalf for, Mayor Nathaniel Booker, Mayor Maywood to reach out to you and, have you come and speak one of their board meetings, village board meetings. The same thing with Mayor Katrina Thompson in Broadview and, Mayor Andre Harvey in Bellwood. Those are, a good portion of Blacks in the community, minorities in general, dominate those three communities.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would love to do this. Since I've been, doing it more, I realize how important this thing is. And my goal, my want is that everybody knows it, whether you use me or not. This is probably the single biggest thing you can do to make sure your family is good, right? You make sure you know where all your money is going, who gets it, when they get it. The trust is so powerful. You can give this to your grandkids that might not even be here yet. Let's say you have 300,000 and you want to make sure you leave 50,000 for your grandkid to go to college, let's say.
Right.
You might be 20 years old. You don't have grandkids yet, but if you put it in the trust properly, that money will be earmarked. And whenever that child goes to college, boom, they just got 50,000. It happens on the other side a lot. You've heard trust fund baby. You've heard all that. It don't always look like us usually.
Right.
All they do. Let me leave you with this.
Yeah.
It's not because they're smarter. It's not because they work harder. They just plan better. That's it. They plan better than us, and it pays off dividends. And this is one of the few things that if you plan properly, your family will be good. And I'll leave you with that.
I'm pulling my hair out my head, bro. Because you mentioned.
Am I wrong? Like, I mean,
you're right on. Terry and I talk about strategic planning, which is separate from my estate plan, but still planning. Dividends.
They don't work harder. They're not smarter. Yeah. They just get together with they people and they figure out the goal and then they work steadily towards that goal. If we did that, Lord knows where we'd be right now. And that's one of the things I'm trying to make sure people understand. Like, I don't want to say the word, your stuff in order.
Yeah.
Get your stuff in order. Yeah. Period. Like, it's going to be hard. It's going to take a little time. But once you're done, you're done. And I'm doing all the heavy work. All I'm asking you to do is give me the piece of paper with the bank account on it. That's essentially the client's job.
How does that saying go? People don't plan to fail. They fail to plan.
They fail to plan. Yes. And
we fail to plan. Our people fail to plan.
Well, hopefully more podcasts like this and more knowledge, and it's getting a little better. I get more and more calls. I'm hoping and praying 10, 15 years. This is an easy tool to make sure your people are good.
Yeah.
Period.
I say if you got time to use extra money to go on a longer vacation, or to play lottery tickets, or to buy clothes, assets that just dwindles away, buy property like a car or whatever the case may be, you can take some of that money and hire an attorney.
Right? And all I need is all you're doing is giving me the information, and I'm creating that safe for you.
We are coming to the end of our podcast. I'd be remiss again, because, I'm from Maywood, grew up in Maywood. I've known Dawn for decades, since we were little kids, and she's a great soul. She's a great person. Her grandfather being a former, broker with State Farm and things like that. So we go way back. I just want our community to do better. I want the village of Maywood to do better. And in my opinion, the bar is set low as it relates to economics and financial status. And I see the trajectory starting to go up in a minute way. But having, professional expert, attorneys such as yourself to talk about things that aren't really discussed in the community, like estate planning, is really impacting Maywood in a negative way. So I would like for you to take, give you the last word, take a couple minutes to talk to our audience. And then again, leave your information for those who wish to reach out to you with questions to hire you. So, and after you speak for a couple minutes or so, don't hang up. We want to keep you on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Doctor. I'll give, a brief, at the end of the day, it's really about the two questions I've been talking about. Are you going to pass down peace? Or are you going to pass down problems? Because I promise you this, if you pass and nobody knows what's going on, it's going to take 10% of your estate. So you leave $100,000 for your family, $10,000 is gone. You're going to have to hire an attorney. That's going to cost you another $10,000. And it's going to take your family, on average, 2 years. Why would you do that when you can get all of that taken care of, in a couple of weeks and have your family good, right? And, the second question is that, do you want the courts to get some of your money, or do you want your family to get all your money? That's really what we're talking about. Because if your paperwork is not in place, the court is going to get some of your money. And God forbid if you leave in a significant amount, because then it takes even longer. And that's assuming nobody's fighting. So part of my job, what I, offer to you is if you give me a call, I can work with, setting up your estate properly, making sure that those assets, your bank accounts, your house, your, cars, your 401k, my job is to make sure those transfer to your family easily and simply. So if you need to talk to me, you can give me a call. My number is 312-450-2219. Again, 312-450-2219. And, or you can email me at Carl@Nichols Law Group PC. That's CARL at Nichols, NICOLAS lawgroup.com. Thank you.
Thank you again, Attorney Nichols, for joining us on this podcast to discuss a topic that is rarely brought up in our communities. So we thank you and appreciate your time again on this podcast. Please reach out to Attorney Nichols. Again, he even mentioned that the initial consultation will be free. So don't waste any more time sitting on hopes and a prayer that everything be taken care of when our loved ones pass away, when your loved ones pass away. Give Attorney Carl Nichols of the Nichols Law Group PC a call. Again, 312-450-2219. Just a side note, would like to inform the audience that there's a back to school jam on August the 10th. It's from 3 to 7 p.m. The location is Winfield Scott, 19th and Maywood Drive. Just go straight down Maywood Drive. Winfield Scott is right in front of the Kroger Distribution Center. So that is August 10th from 3 to 7 p.m. at Winfield Scott. So that is the public service announcement as it relates to activities taking place in Maywood. And I'd like to thank you for joining us on this podcast. Tune in for our next podcast where you'll have other phenomenal guests who are just like attorney Carl Nichols, those who are experts in their craft, in their selected industry, so we could bring the information to the people in the village of Maywood and beyond, Proviso Township included. I am Dr. Reggie Ratliff. Until next time, like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. Be safe. God bless you. Good night.